Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining Sports4CLE. Indians trying to wrap up their first home win of the year. They have the lead going into the ninth inning against the Kansas City Royals, but we're going to talk plenty of Browns football. Mac Robinson from the Hurry Up Podcast will join us a little later. We start out the way we always like to start out, talking Browns. Browns beat reporter Mary Kay Cabot from the pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Mary Kay, appreciate the time. You posted something to that story that you can find on cleveland.com.
Well, you know what? It was great fun to do this interview with Azeez. I found him to be he's got so much personality. We had a lot of fun chit-chatting with each other, talking about what it would be like to play with Myles Garrett. The actual story itself will be going up tomorrow, but the video is up there today a little bit early. So, but anyways, he was great to talk to. And he has had contact with the Browns, of course. Talked about watching some of Myles Garrett's film, and he feels like he has the same kind of bend off that edge that Myles had. So lots of good stuff in that interview.
A younger guy as well. So I guess a guy that the Browns probably feel is ascending and is only really starting to scratch the surface of the potential there as an edge rusher.
Yeah, that's true. And he really has the opportunity to put on some weight. He's around 249 right now. He believes he can get up into the 260 range, which if they decide to move him up as a defensive end as opposed to outside linebacker, then, I think he probably would want to put on a little bit of weight, but he feels that he will have no problem doing that. Obviously, if he's committing to the weight room almost full time, once you have the opportunity to do that when you get out of college, I don't think he'll have any problem doing that. I think he would pair nicely with Myles Garrett. Once again, he's got speed, explosiveness. He can play the run. He can cover. He can do all kinds of things. And he would be a great pick for the Browns at number 26.
Also sounds like, and we keep mentioning this in free agents, it sounds like there's some versatility there, which I think Joe Wood's defense really values as well. I think that's another quality they look for.
Yes, absolutely. There's so many different things that you can do with a guy like this. And the Browns will be playing a lot of different fronts. They'll play a 4-man front, 3, sometimes 2, who knows? I mean, they can have any number of guys up there on the defensive line, but he does have the versatility, as you mentioned, to play defensive end. You could probably move him inside like they sometimes do with Myles. He can play any of the linebacker spots. So I think it's just the skill set. It's the speed, the explosiveness, the coverage ability, sort of a modern day defender.
When you look at what the Browns have done in free agency, is one of the beauties of it that they're not locked into an edge or a cornerback or a line. They can truly identify a guy anywhere on that defense and, hey, he fits with what we want to do and go get him.
Yeah, and not only just on defense either. They really have the leeway to take whoever they want with their first pick in that draft. If they go receiver, they can go receiver. So it really can be anyone. And I don't think anyone should be surprised or shocked at who this player is, because as you mentioned, they pretty much have a starter at every single position and a quality starter. And they've got really good depth at some positions. So they don't have to take anything. And, this front office isn't set up that way anyways. They are always going to go for the best, most dominant player they can find.
When you look at, the rosters it's constructed, they have 9 picks. Could you see them identifying a player that, that maybe slides a little that they really like, and then giving one of those later round picks to try to move up a couple spots to go get somebody they like?
They could. They've got 2 picks in the 3rd round. They've got 2 picks in the 4th round. I don't necessarily think that they're going to go up really super high, because you don't want to be giving up your 1st round picks in future years. You don't want to have to do that. And that's what it would take to get up very high up into the top 10. Plus the salaries go up so much when you get that high up in the draft. So I could see them going up some. Maybe you want to jump up over your division rival Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24 to make sure you get your guy at number 22 or something like that. But short of that, I don't see them taking a monumental leap up the board.
What about what do you think this says about the way the roster has been upgraded? When you look at where that roster was before last year's free agency, where they addressed the offense, and then the draft, and then this year's free agency, there's a pretty significant upgrade in a couple of years.
It really is. I mean, they've had some really great off seasons. When you even go back to, trading for Odell and Olivier Vernon that year, and bringing in Kareem Hunt. I mean, John Dorsey really did a lot to bring in so many talented players on this roster. And I think sometimes we forget too that a lot of the talent that you see now occurred when he was on the job. So he had a great offseason. Then last offseason was tremendous. Bringing in Jack Conklin, Austin Hooper, and so many of the other guys, Jedrick Wills. So it's really been a couple of great off seasons, and now it's a matter of just sustaining that and trying to keep the roster at the high level that it is now. And that's what good teams do. You build a good, solid core and a foundation, and then you continue to add to it. That's how teams like the Steelers continue to be good year after year after year with a great personnel department.
Mary Kay Cabot and I, Browns beat reporter, going to step aside and take a quick time out. Mary Kay alluded to this. This will be the second year of an offense and defensive system for the Browns for a long, long time. We'll take a look at what the offense under Kevin Stefanski might look like in year 2. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get texts sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
Sports for CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. Indians game is now final. They defeat the Royals 4-2 over at Progressive Field. So each team wins one game in that series. We're going to continue talking Browns. We'll have more on the Indians a little bit later in the show. Let's welcome back in Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter. Mary Kay, when you look at this offense, the evolution of Kevin Stefanski's offense, how much of a difference does it make when it's going to be the same offense for the first time in 2 years, for the first time since who knows when?
Well, I think that helps tremendously. I think it's great that Baker Mayfield does not have to learn new terminology, a new scheme, a new way of somebody calling these plays for him. So he is going to hit the ground running. Now, having said that, however, I think it's vitally important that they will build on this offense, and they will. I mean, they will add things to it. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, what he had to do was run the Gary Kubiak scheme last year. They did not have time to reinvent the wheel. He didn't have time to say to Chad O'Shea, give me all your ideas that you learned in New England where you were winning Super Bowls. Or the same thing with Alex Van Pelt from being with the Packers and the Bengals and everywhere else. They basically had to go with the plan that Kevin Stefanski ran in Minnesota in 2019. Now they have time. They have time to build on what they did last year. So I think you'll see new wrinkles. I think you'll see new themes and philosophies. And some of those things I think will include maybe more three wides, some of the things that Baker did in college. I think that you will see a little bit more of maybe Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb on the field at the same time. At least I hope they do that. And just some other things that I think will really showcase this offense.
How important do you think it is for Baker Mayfield? I mean, if you sit down and actually think what he has had to try to do in the first couple of years with different offensive coordinators, different head coaches, different people in his ear coaching him, how much of an advantage do you think it is that he has the same offensive coordinator, the same quarterback coach, the same head coach, developing him from what was a really good year last year?
Oh, I think it's going to mean all the difference. I mean, he is going to show up from day one. He's going to know that scheme inside and out. He's already got the footwork down. I mean, last year, think about it. Not only did he not have an offseason to come in and learn the new system, he was trying to completely overhaul his footwork. So now he's got that down. He's got the scheme down. They know what he does well. I think one of the things you'll see them take even more advantage of is, rolling him out more and using him on those keepers where he has an opportunity to use his mobility and throw on the run, which is something that he does extraordinarily well. So these are some of the things that I think that they will take full advantage of. And it's just going to really, really help Baker so much to have that continuity.
Along those lines, how happy are you, do you think, the Browns took Baker Mayfield in 2018? There was a lot of debate, and there's some pretty good quarterbacks from that year without question. But I kind of get the sense that the Browns are really, really happy with what they did with that number 1 overall pick with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, they're happy. I mean, if you remember back, there was a lot of talk that maybe they would take Sam Darnold. And, of course, now we see Sam Darnold now is already on his second team, traded from the Jets to the Panthers and trying to rehabilitate his career there. So, that could have possibly been a mistake for them. Now, maybe Sam Darnold will live up to his number 3 overall status. We'll have to see how that goes. But, I mean, it went really well for the Browns. And, you can make a case that perhaps as time goes on, we'll find out who has the better career amongst Baker, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. But right now, it looks like they could not have gone wrong with Baker. And I really think that, as Alex Van Pelt said last year, the arrow is pointing up.
Stay on that side of the ball. Now there's an interesting thing at play here with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. Likely, who knows, likely going to be together this year. But when you move forward and you have the big price tags at wide receivers, how tough is it to keep the band together, if you will, in that wide receiver room with those two guys that are just making a lot of money?
Well, I think it will depend on how this year goes. If they take the Browns to the Super Bowl and are a huge reason that the Browns are in a Super Bowl, then I think, then you seize that momentum and think about bringing them back. But next year, for the second straight year, they will be combining for more than $31 million again, and they will also be turning 30 next year. So this year is really the year that they have to do it. You remember Baker said last year, we know that, the time is short, the time is sort of running out. There is this window that you have with those guys. So I think this is the year that they really have to do it. They have to make themselves almost, you don't want to be able to say to the Browns, you could do without me. They have to make themselves just not expendable. So we'll have to see how that all goes. But, it's basically up to them and how they do this year.
And the flip side of that is you keep hearing, well, Odell didn't do this with Baker. And in fairness to Odell and in fairness to Kevin Stefanski, the development of Baker Mayfield happened shortly after that bye week, and Odell was hurt before then. So they really didn't have the time on the field together that you would hope they had to develop that chemistry.
Right. I mean, it really seems like once they figured out how to run this offense and what to do with Baker and what he was great at, I do think that Odell would have benefited from that. And I think when he comes back this season, I think that, that you'll see that those guys can work together just fine. If it doesn't work out, then that will obviously inform what happens the year after that. If these guys just don't have it together and Baker somehow spreads the ball around more effectively without Odell on the field, then it will be Odell's last year in a Cleveland Browns uniform. But I have a feeling that they will do perfectly fine together.
Yeah, I get the sense as well. Brought back almost the entire receiving room. Do you think there's still a chance the Browns try to find a young guy that they can develop in the draft, wide receiver wise? And if so, are they looking for a speed guy? What is your sense with adding to that wide receiving room? Whoa, struggled with that one there.
Well, I do think that, that they will look for someone that can stretch the field, a deep threat, and they do have to start thinking about life after Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. So I really do think that that there is a good chance that they'll draft a wide receiver somewhere along the line. This is a very good wide receiver class in 2021. Now, they don't have to do it, but if the opportunity presents itself, they will certainly not hesitate to take a receiver even high.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter, and I are going to take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about Jadeveon Clowney, a name that continues to be connected with the Browns. We'll also talk a little bit about the upgrades and how the Browns offseason has been graded. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Mary Kay Cabot and I talking Browns when we return. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Better days are ahead. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Maurice, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State tech subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Sports for CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter. Mary Kay, Jadeveon Clowney visited the Browns. He has not been rumored, reported to have taken any other visit. Usually when you keep hearing a guy is going to a certain place like that, it usually happens. What do you make of the whole Jadeveon Clowney situation and his free agency?
Well, last week I sort of got the impression that something could happen at any time. I was just kind of getting that vibe that, perhaps he would make up his mind and decide to climb on board or hop on board the way Malik Jackson invited him to do. But that didn't happen. And so now I think it's just kind of in a holding pattern. I don't know if he's decided that he wants to hold out for more money, or if he's maybe hoping that the Titans could possibly bring him back again. Not really sure exactly what's going on with him. I still think that until he signs with someone else, there is still a chance he could end up here. But obviously, the longer it goes, sometimes those windows start to close.
If the Browns do add Jadeveon Clowney, in fact, what do you think? What's the next move? What does that set up for the Browns, do you think?
I don't think it would necessarily preclude them from drafting an edge rusher in the first round, because these guys, they would be on one-year contracts, Tack McKaven Collins or one of those kind of guys. But it also opens up the possibility that if a great receiver falls to you at number 26 or a great cornerback, that you could go ahead and do that. So I think that's how it will impact the first round of the draft.
When you look at this roster, where are the areas that you see, boy, if they upgrade here and here, this can be a really, really, top-notch defense? What are the 2 areas or 3 areas that you think they need to check the box on? Let's even upgrade them a little bit more.
Yeah, once again, I think they're in good shape most places, but, I could still see them doing something at linebacker. I mean, that's a spot where certainly there could be an opening for a really good quality starter. Sometimes I do think that a dominant linebacker on this team just might really help the situation. So that's one area. And then, you might still want to look at cornerback just for another insurance policy as a starter outside in the event that Greedy needs to platoon with someone, or however that might work out. Edge rusher, again, is something to look at. Here's the thing. Offensive linemen, they have a great offensive line and they're deep, but you can almost never have too many really good offensive linemen. And I think that's also an area where you could add some depth.
Yeah, keep in mind, they added a guy in the playoff game that Baker Mayfield said he met in the locker room before the game playing guard for the Browns. So that kind of solidifies that. What about the offseason? Last offseason there were some big names with Hooper and Conklin. And what about the offseason this year? Maybe not as big a names, but boy, very effective and targeted.
Yes, it was a very measured approach. You're right about that. They filled some very big needs. And of course, the biggest one of all was John Johnson III. That's the guy that they targeted early on, and he was the one they kind of had to have. I mean, they made him their priority this offseason, just the same way they made Jack Conklin their priority last offseason. And then, of course, they really needed to get that nickel cornerback because Kevin Johnson was going to walk. And they got the versatility to also have someone in Troy Hill that can start on the outside for Greedy Williams in the event they need that, or for Denzel Ward in the event that he suffers a soft tissue injury or something like that again. So, they got some good pieces. Tack McKinley, I mean, he's sort of the X factor. If he comes in here and kind of reverts to the player that he was when he was first in the league in 2017 and 2018, and if they can get 7-8 sacks out of him, that would be quite the bonus.
What do you think if they get somebody at 26? What position? And I'm not necessarily looking for a name. If they get an impact player, at what position do you think it makes it? this offseason even more of a home run? I mean, by all accounts, they've had a great offseason. What do you think they could add in the draft that would make it, the quote unquote home run?
Well, I think it could be a couple of things. It could be another starting cornerback, because a lot of times you really do need to have 3 good starting outside cornerbacks. So even if they are going to use Greedy, you're going to need that third guy that can really nail it for you on the outside. So that would be one. And then the other one, I think, would be that other edge rusher. I think that that guy over there that can wreak a lot of havoc would help Myles Garrett so much, would help, the linebackers. And, when you've got two guys coming off the edges like that, it's really, really difficult on a quarterback.
Without question. Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter here on cleveland.com, as well as in the pages of the Plain Dealer. As always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Mary Kay. Appreciate it.
Hey.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter. We're going to take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will be joined by Mac Robinson from the Hurry Up podcast. We'll talk about some mock drafts and who national guys have the Browns taking in the first and second round as well. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, hello everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get texts sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week, and it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
Welcome back to Sports 4 CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. Want to remind you, if you have a comment or a question, you can get a hold of us. Voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. The voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. Troy Kozlowski has gotten a hold of us via the voicemail of Truth and Reason with talking about the Browns draft and who he would like to see the Browns take.
This is Troy Kozlowski. I just wanted to comment on the upcoming draft for the Cleveland Browns. I know a lot of people out there, sports analysts, Cleveland sports analysts are making their, predictions of who we're going to pick. I just wanted to throw mine out there. I really think we're going to get Zaven Collins. I think he's a good fit for us, what we're trying to do. I think Zaven Collins is really he's a special talent, and he's going to do tremendous things no matter where he goes. So I'd like to see him elevate his career in Cleveland.
Again, that's Troy Kozlowski, voicemail of Truth and Reason, wants to see the Browns take Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa, with that 26th pick. Let's welcome in Mac Robinson from the Hurry Up podcast. Mac, as always, appreciate the time. I agree with Troy. If Zaven Collins is there, I think that's somebody the Browns are definitely interested in, and I think he has the versatility that they value as well.
I think that with Zaven Collins, I think he's an interesting case for the Browns because I think he's one of the few linebacker choices that I think could make some sense. Mainly because of the fact that, like you said, his versatility, but in a different way from one of the other guys that I like as well. So Zaven Collins, he can cover from sideline to sideline, but on top of that too, he's a bit of an edge rusher coming off the edge, so he can go ahead and be a little bit versatile in that sense. But if you're looking for more of the coverage backer type, I also look at linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, or JOK as a lot of people call him for short, but he's out of Notre Dame, and he's more of that hybrid safety linebacker that you kind of look for, where he can be that guy where he can cover slot, he can cover in the nickel there for you as well. He can cover up against the run and stop the run there, and really plays all across the field. So I think that versatility, you're on the right track there. If the Browns are going to consider a linebacker in round one, which I'm not sure if they would. I think that it would have to be an interesting case for one, for them to consider one at 26. But I think that the versatility aspect is something that you have to look out for, and especially like you said, I mean, Zaven Collins has that pass rushing versatility off the edge. And then with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think he also adds in a little bit of that pass coverage flavor that you're looking for as well.
I'm going with JOK on that one. We're not going to try to say that. All right, let's take a look at a couple of national mock drafts that are very recent. Chris Trapasso, CBS Sports, has the Browns taken a wide receiver in the first round, Elijah Moore. Now, he does fit the mold as a speed guy. I'm not so sure the Browns are going wide receiver in the first round, but again, they've done enough in free agency. If they absolutely love Elijah Moore, he's there at 26. I could see that potentially happening.
Yeah, Elijah Moore is somebody that I definitely could see them targeting in this draft. I don't know if it would be at 26. Again, it all depends on how the board falls. But Elijah Moore, he's a little bit on the shorter side, around 5'10", 5'11", if I remember correctly. But he plays a lot bigger than that. And that's the one thing that you're really looking for from a lot of these guys. And he runs very crisp routes, very good hands, and obviously had over 1,100 yards this past season. And so for him, I think that he could be a good fit in this. And on top of that, though, a lot of people talk about with free agency. Free agency is where you address your needs, where the draft is where you address the future. And with the salary of Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry coming into question in the future, obviously over $12 million for both of them. You have a lot of other extensions that you have to worry about too. At a certain point, you also have to think about the future of the position. Who can you get who may be, making a little bit less at that position? I think that could be something that they look at. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be day one, but I do think that it could be something that factors in a little bit further down in the draft.
And then same mock draft, Chris Trapasso has them taking Gregory Rousseau in the second round. He has them falling to the Browns in the second round, edge rusher from Miami. There are some mocks that have him going to the Browns in the first round. So, again, that's kind of what happened. Browns fans aren't used to drafting in the back half of the first round. This is what happens. It's all over the board once you get past really the first 10 picks in this draft. But Rousseau's a guy that the Browns, I'm sure he's on their radar.
Yeah, and I think that with Rousseau, it adds into the intrigue of this entire draft class because, he's one of those guys who sat out this past year. He's obviously got the bigger frame, but didn't really test well at his pro day too. So you're relying on 2 years tape from 2019 as well as subpar testing as well. It's an incomplete picture. I think the Browns are looking at him, and I think that they would probably, take a long look at him because you don't necessarily want to miss out on anybody, obviously, just to rule him out. But I think that with the incomplete picture, I don't necessarily know if the Browns would be absolutely all in when it came to Gregory Rousseau. And I think that the round 2 area actually makes a lot of sense for him, especially based on the testing numbers that he had as well.
Now, another mock draft that was recently released, Pro Football Focus's Seth Galina. He has Kwity Paye from Michigan slip into the Browns at 26. And I think that's a guy, if he's there, Andrew Berry might swim the card up to the thing on Lake Erie there to get Kwity Paye at 26.
I mean, at this point, he might have Paul DeBodesta just run it himself all the way from Berea. But I think Kwity Paye is a solid addition, and I think that he's somebody who is still developing as an edge rusher. But, I mean, obviously, given the additions of Takk McKinley, I think that they still have a shot at Jadeveon Clowney bringing him in. So all of a sudden, then, it opens you up to where you don't necessarily have to take a guy who can perform day one or has to perform day one. You can go ahead and take somebody who can maybe be a little bit more situational. And at that point, too, you all of a sudden mix in a lot of those guys who can just develop for you, maybe not necessarily make as much of an impact day one, but your 2 and 3 are going to be paying off dividends for you in the long run.
And Paye is a guy that some people have ranked as the top edge rusher. So, again, there's that wide range in edge rushers, and in part because there's a lot of guys that you're trying to project who's going to end up developing, being the highest ceiling, if you will.
Right. And especially, too, like one case as well is Jason Owe out of Penn State. Obviously didn't have a sack this past season, but is still relatively new to the game. Obviously only about 5 years or so in football currently. But he's somebody where, again, if you get that Jadeveon Clowney to sign with you, or you sign a Melvin Ingram who's still on the market, you bring those guys in, all of a sudden they can go ahead, take their time, learn the position, learn from Myles Garrett, learn from these guys, and really hone their skills. To all of a sudden, then you can have them breaking out year 2 and 3, and you all of a sudden look like a genius for taking these guys late in the first round.
So the same mock draft by Pro Football Focus as Seth Galina has Marvin Wilson, defensive tackle from Florida State, as the second-round pick for the Browns. Now, it's kind of interesting they signed, the veteran, but it's a one-year deal with Jackson. So I can see where they would look for a young defensive tackle in this draft as well.
Yeah, I expect them to address the interior defensive line here during the draft at least once, if not twice, because obviously you got Jordan Elliott last year, but you have Sheldon Richardson, who's on a one-year deal. Andrew Billings is coming back. He sat out last year on the COVID list. For him sitting out, he comes back. He's only a one-year deal. You mentioned Malik Jackson as well. He's a veteran option. He's still a one-year deal. So you don't have a lot of guys who are under contract going forward at the position. So I do expect them to address the interior defensive line. Marvin Williams is somebody who's an interesting case for them. Obviously, didn't have as much production last year at Florida State, but, not many people did at Florida State. So, it could make sense to bring him in early in round 2. Bring him as a defensive tackle. And obviously, like you mentioned, there's a ton of options that they already have. Even though they're short-term deals, again, you don't have to worry about these guys producing on day one, and you can have them take their time with their development.
And then that same draft, third round, and this is an interesting guy, linebacker Jamin Davis from Kentucky. There are some mock drafts that have him going to the Browns in the first round. So that's another guy that just a wide variance from first to third round as to where he might go.
Yeah, Jamin Davis is another one who, he can really cover sideline to sideline. He's what you want at that middle linebacker position. And, I know that we talk about the dime package. And again, for those who don't know, that's 6 defensive backs on the field and then 4 defensive linemen with just 1 linebacker. Jamin Davis could be that guy where you can have him cover that middle of the field and really cover sideline to sideline for you. And, like you said, I mean, I've seen him go as high as the first round. I've seen him, go as low as the third in some mocks. I tend to think he's going to go a lot higher than, people are expecting. I do think he's going to be in that day 1, day 2 range, early day 2 range, I should say. Especially his testing at his pro day was phenomenal. And obviously, given what he was able to show on the field this past year, especially in the SEC, I think that he's somebody who really could make an impact early on in his career.
Mac Robinson from the Hurry Up Podcast, and I got to take a quick time out on the other side of the break. We'll get Mac's thoughts. 2 safe picks for the Browns, 2 risky picks for the Browns in the upcoming draft. Sports for CLE will continue. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Better days are ahead. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So what are you waiting for? Register now for online and on-campus summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Maurice, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue to talk Browns football. We're going to continue to talk NFL draft with Mac Robinson from the Hurry Up podcast. Mac, let's do safe first. Give me 2 safe draft picks for the Browns.
So my first one is going to be the easier target to see coming at 26. That's going to be wide receiver Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. And, Bateman, he's only 6 feet tall, but again, like we said with Elijah Moore, he plays a lot bigger than that on the outside, and especially for the Browns. Obviously, you saw it down the stretch. They really could use an extra boundary receiver. They obviously brought back Rashad Higgins as well. But overall, I think that Bateman really could do well for this team, and I think that he really could do well on the outside and really help shore up that position as well. Now, for the one that I know is a little bit of a long shot when it comes to the Browns at 26, but I got my fingers crossed, and if he's close, I'd love to see the Browns go after him, and that is J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. I absolutely love J.C. Horn. I think that honestly, he's going to have those top tier cornerback one tools that you want to see from him as well. He's very, very aggressive. He's very physical, and he's got that alpha mentality that you want to see from your outside corner as well as very good technique from him as well. So I love J.C. Horn. If he's anywhere near 26, even if it takes a couple picks to move up, I wouldn't mind going out of my way to get J.C. Horn.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if the Browns target 1 or 2 guys that if they fall to, and again, I don't think they're not going to ship a future first-round pick. They're not going to, but I could see them putting a 3rd and a 5th or something together, because getting on this roster is not going to be easy for the draft picks, particularly after the first couple of rounds. This is going to be a very difficult roster to make.
Exactly. And the fact that the Browns have 9 draft picks already, and given all of the needs they addressed in free agency, it's tough to see Andrew Berry making that many picks. Now, I could see them moving some of those later picks for future draft capital, like what we saw last year, where, they moved down with the Saints, ended up picking up a 3rd this year now. So it wouldn't shock me if they go ahead and go down that road instead for some of these draft picks. But again, like I said, Andrew Berry's been aggressive, especially in free agency. Last year, you didn't really see it as much, obviously, with it being his first draft class that he had. So it really wouldn't shock me if he goes out of his way. If he sees somebody that he likes or thinks that there's somebody who's slipping just a little bit too far, then I think he can go ahead and jump up for some of these guys.
Yeah, and I know there's a school of thought that says the analytics-driven front offices won't trade up necessarily. I think Andrew Berry, yes, he relies on analytics, but I also think he's a football guy, and if there's somebody he really likes, we've seen he's aggressive, and I don't think he'll hesitate to go up to get it. Let's flip the script. 2 of the guys that you think are risky guys that the Browns could take.
Now, these two have been tied with the Browns here recently. The first one I'm going to go with is Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. He was somebody who opted out this past season. And really, when it comes to my first round picks, and this will be a trend here for both of these guys I'm going to mention, but you don't want to have as much red flags when you're selecting somebody. So for Caleb Farley, he was somebody who has dealt with a torn ACL back in 2017, dealt with back spasms that were recurring in 2019, and has already in 2021, despite not playing in 2020, has already had another surgery for his lower back as well. And they call it a relatively minor surgery, but even still, I would be concerned about that, especially if we're talking about your first round draft pick and somebody who you're basically looking at as a franchise cornerstone going forward. So, I would go ahead and say that Caleb Farley, that's a little too risky for me. The other one for me is Jalen Phillips out of Miami. And I know everybody was gushing about his pro day and his numbers that he had. And look, I mean, he's a phenomenal edge rusher, but at the same time, he's dealt with a lot of concussions over his career. And especially to the point where he was considering retirement at one point down in Miami. So for me, that's obviously not a great sign if my top guy was thinking about retiring before he even entered the league, let alone playing in the league. So for me, I worry a little bit about Phillips and the long-term ramifications of those concussions and of some of those injuries. So he's somebody that I feel is a little too risky for me, especially given his injury history.
So let me pose this question to you. If the Browns have had a really good offseason, if they can get a first-round guy at what position or positions do you think it turns it from a really good offseason to the proverbial home run of an offseason?
I will say this: if they can land a top-tier edge rusher or top-tier corner, all of a sudden I think the rest is gravy. Because especially you look at, and especially corner, I'll probably say corner more than edge rusher, because I feel like they can still add another edge rusher, like I said, Jadeveon Clowney, and you can probably add somebody a little later for the rotation. But especially cornerback, if you address cornerback early, I think that all of a sudden you solidify the position, because Greedy Williams, coming off that nerve injury, that's another one that really kind of concerns me, especially when you're talking about those the nerve damage for him. So I look at cornerback. If you can solidify the cornerback position, all of a sudden, all right, we're good. We don't really have any major glaring needs, maybe linebacker, but even still, you're not really going to be playing a ton of those guys during the season. So with all of that being said, they address cornerback. I think that all of a sudden you're set going forward.
We talked like Horn, and I get it. Who are some other guys that if you think they were there at 26, that would fill the bill? Do you like Newsome from Northwestern? Do you like? I don't think Surtain's going to be there from Alabama. I think he's probably in that Horn range. Newsome could slide, and that's a guy that's uber athletic.
Yes, and especially too, again, I always say don't scout based on the helmet, but hey, the guy went to Northwestern, so the guy's smart. So, I would love to bring in Greg Newsome. Another one, and I will pronounce it for you, that way you don't have to, but Edu Melifonwu out of Syracuse, I like him a lot as well. Athletically, very, very good outside corner as well. And adds a little bit of length on the outside as well, above 6 feet tall. So, he adds that diverse skill set compared to Denzel Ward, who's a little bit shorter. So, I think that these guys, it really matches up well to where, look, if you want to jump up for JC Horn, you can do that. If you want to sit back and wait for some of these guys, you can do that too. Hell, even Asante Samuel Jr. in round 2 possibly could be an option for the Browns. And look, if he's even half of what his dad was at the NFL level, I will absolutely take that next or opposite of Denzel Ward.
The other thing to keep in mind is with the 17th regular season game being added, it's still to be determined if they're going to expand the rosters. So that could open up some more space. Those are things that are being negotiated between the Players Association and the owners. So those are things that need to be kept in mind. Also, how big of an advantage and how big of a deal is it, do you think there's going to be some form of training camp and OTAs that the Browns didn't have the opportunity to do with this new offense and defense a season ago?
I think it's going to be a huge deal for this Browns team, because obviously the offense, you saw what they were able to do, but I think it's especially key for this defensive group. A lot of new faces. The offense is relatively the same, so I feel like they're going to have their jump regardless. So I think that the defense, being able to have all these guys, not necessarily all these guys socially distanced in the same room. I think that having all these guys together, I think it's really going to pay off major for this defense going into the season, because all of a sudden now you start to see the team bonding together. You get to see the team working out, how does this guy react to playing on the outside? How does this guy like to play off coverage? Getting that feel for each other. I think that's going to be a massive advantage for the Browns going into this offseason, going into next season.
Mac Robinson from the Hurry Up podcast, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Mac, great stuff as always. Appreciate your time. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we will hear from Terry Francona, Shane Bieber, and Jose Ramirez. Indians 4-2 winners. They split the series with the Royals 1 game apiece. We'll hear from them when Sports for CLE continues. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, hello everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get texts sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. The Indians 4-2 winners over the Royals over at Progressive Field. They split the 2-game series. Tribe now 2-3 on the year. Shane Bieber really good again. 6 1/3 innings. Allowed 2 earned runs. One of them was a runner that was inherited to the bullpen that they let score in the 7th inning rather. He struck out 12 again. So Bieber, 6 1/3, 2 earned runs, 12 strikeouts. The Indians offense, it was Jose Ramirez. 2 2-run homers. The Indians win it 4-2. Terry Francona, happy with Jose.
I mean, this just in, Jose's pretty good.
What'd you think of Shane overall?
I thought he was terrific. I mean, he knows, he's pitching in that game and he knows, we're not throwing a bunch of runs up on the board. And you got to be aware of that. So it's not the easiest way to pitch, but no, I thought he was terrific. I thought the right fielder had a good at-bat to draw the walk. He laid off some pitches that he had been swinging at, and then he left a pitch up to Taylor. I just thought he was getting pretty deep into the game to let him keep pitching.
I thought I executed pitches all day today. Everything felt good, and I stayed aggressive and really had an opportunity there potentially get through 8 if I have a quick 7th there. But, it is what it is. The game ended in our favor, and that's really all that matters. So on to the next one.
Estamos todos dando lo mejor. ¿Sabes? No me siento así. No me siento de esa manera. Como tenemos que cargarnos los hombros. Todos tenemos talento.
No, I don't feel that pressure. We're a team, right? And we're supposed to do this all together. And I just feel like we're pulling this together, and I don't feel any pressure of that type.
Jose Ramirez, 2 two-run homers, so 4 runs batted in. Indians scored 4 runs, also 2 runs scored. Shane Bieber now, 2 starts, doesn't have a win, hasn't given up that many runs, took a tough loss in the opener, no decision here. 24 strikeouts in 2 starts for Shane Bieber, has been pitching really well for the Indians. They will open up 3-game weekend series against the Tigers Friday at 7 o'clock down at Progressive Field. They have tomorrow off. That'll do it for us on this edition of Sports for CLE. Want to remind you, if you have a comment or a question, you can get a hold of us. The voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650, 216-200-6650. That is the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can also email us at sports4CLE, sports4CLE at gmail.com. We will see you again tomorrow. Scheduled guest Ellis Williams, Browns beat reporter, and Anthony Castrovintz from MLB.com will be along to talk baseball. Indians with a day off, getting ready for the Tigers this weekend. We'll see you again tomorrow at 4 right here on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody.